Erik and I were talking, and Erik said that I'm the parent of the podcast. I'm not very comfortable with that assessment. So that got me thinking that I think you're Matt because you're Trixum. And I think Erik probably wants himself to be Rand or Lan, but he's a tad on the bossy side and a heck of a know-it-all. So I think I'm leaning towards Nynaeve.
It's interesting that you go with Nynaeve instead of Moiraine, Adam.
Moiraine.
Well, yeah.
I said you were like Perrin. I didn't say Moiraine you were Perrin.
Congratulations. That's exactly. You are Nynaeve.
You're a jerk. Welcome back to the Jack of the Shadows podcast, episode 30. Our podcast is 30 years old.
30.
It's a young man.
I am your host, Erik VC, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite brick and mortar, the VC boys. Say hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
I guess I'll be Brick.
Yeah, well, you're Perrin, so Brick is fitting.
I welcome Brick.
You are.
Yeah. I'm the glue. I am the glue that holds everything together, apparently.
And I fly around in space and time.
And you're a berserker in Borderlands.
I was going there too.
This episode, we will be covering chapters 19 through 24 of The Shadow Rising.
House.
And we'll really get into gear by climbing past the tree line for our view from Dragonmount, before casting anchor with the Athan Mier and come sail away. We will then discuss the conversation between Tom and Elaine and pack up our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Life is Like a Storybook story before discussing Dave's Paramour story guide and pray that there's Moiraine. Speaking of magical guides, it will then be time to hash out the plans that Rand unfolds in The Sword and the Stone before wrapping things up with our Coplin of the week and who leveled up.
I like the outlook.
We will not forget to discuss what shook our Willow this week as well.
So get ready for a good time.
So buckle up, Buttercup. It's that time of the episode again, when we shall climb our way up the Dragonmount to survey our story as it led into our episode and what we read for the episode itself.
And hopefully never talk like that again.
Yeah, I think this is a fail. You workshopped it and you found out the truth.
And the audience came back with a resounding
I think some of the things that
no.
you've said were fails by me have actually been, well, I'm not going to pat myself.
That sounds like a Nynaeve thing to say.
Looking, you're a butthead. Looking back, the story for episode 29, laugh. We saw Matt learn of the White Cloaks in Two River and then enter the strange red doorway. He learned that he had to go to Roy Dien before being thrown out and seeing Rand and Moiraine exit the same door shortly afterward. Perrin asks Loyal to take him to the Two Rivers through the ways, only to discover that he's been double-crossed by his Goyle friend,
He didn't ask
Aiel,
you to take you to the top?
And he must...
Goyle.
And now he has to follow...
Emphasis on Goyle.
The Goyle.
And now he has to follow her and Loyal through the ways.
Them rotten...
Gaul joins Perrin, and Bane and Chiet are escorting Aiel. Moiraine asked Tom to join Elaine and Nynaeve, whom she sent to travel to Tanchico with the Athan Mier, and Min and the Armerlin learn that Mazrim Taim has escaped en route to Tar Valon. Swan decides to announce to the Hall her support for Rand as the Dragon Reborn, and then there was the bizarre murder of Sarah Covenry, the novice who saw Min and Gawain speaking together and was sent to a farm for penance by the Armerlin. And that wraps up what we covered in last episode.
Sweet.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. That was a deep dive into the last episode.
This episode's story begins in chapter 19 with the arrival of Nynaeve and Elaine to the Wave Dancer and the meeting of Sail Mistress Coin and Windfinder Joran. After some poor bartering, the two accepted our granted passage for free by the Sail Mistress just before something massive rocks the ship. Massive rocks. Chapter 20 sees the arrival of Juilin and Tom to the Raker. Tom, who has been sent by Moiraine, and Juilin, who has been sent by Rand via Lan. The young women allow the two men to accompany them, and Elaine begins to muse that something is familiar about Tom.
Not without some nonsense from Nynaeve.
Elaine then wanders off to witness why it was Moiraine had them attempt to travel with the Athan Mier. Some of the wave dancers can channel. Elaine asks Joran to teach her and promises to try to keep the sea folks secret. The scene for chapter 21 is the Heart of the Stone, where Rand has gathered all of the nobles of Tyr. He tells them of a treaty with Mayenne and a peace and hunger mission to Cairhien. that will keep his rivals in Tyr busy for some time. He then slams Kalendor back into the heart of the stone and exits. Riding his new horse, Giadaen, Rand begins chapter 22, leading the Aiel out of Tyr and to the portal stone he intends to use to transport them all to Rhuidean. With some help from Matt, he succeeds in his attempt, and instantly the entire group finds themselves in the searing heat of the waste.
And half of them are naked. Now,
on the sear slopes of Chiandir, chapter 23 opens with the request of Rand and the more bizarre request of Matt to visit Rhuidean. After the confrontation with the four wise ones, Aviendha quickly follows, and Moiraine follows after her. The wise ones keep Egwene behind and begin her dreamer training. Rand channels water for he and Matt to drink in chapter 24. The two discover Avendasora, and then Rand heads into the three concentric circles of glass columns.
Big deal.
Matt discovers another red doorway in the plaza of Terangrial and enters to have 3 more questions answered. Instead, he meets some fox-like people who do not answer his questions. And at the chapter's close, Matt seems to be strangling to death. And that is our view from Dragonmount.
Do you feel, Adam, like the Wheel of Time's subtitle should be NBD?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's just, the subscript beneath the Wheel of Time is no big deal.
Yes, I'm sure Robert Jordan felt that about every chapter he ever wrote.
Well, he's not alive, so I'm putting that in there. So that's my thing.
Well, then it'll be very hard for you to figure out what shook your willow since none of this was a big deal. Yeah, so we'll start with Adam instead. Adam, what shook your willow this week?
Oh, mine brings us back to a little tale that we know as The Travels of Jan Farstrider. Just want to bring it up again.
Of course.
Just want to bring it up again that Rand loves this book so much that he named his horse after Giadaen, after Jan's horse in the book.
Everyone seems to like that.
Well,
book.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
What? Write the book for me and then send it to me.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I'm sure I can find it somewhere.
Yeah, please. It'll be all of 2 pages long.
Like I said before, it's a romp.
Yes, it's a romantic.
He's swinging around.
It's a romantic romp.
He's romancing the stone.
So, no thoughts about whether or not you're going to see the travels of Jan Farstrider any other time? Do you think this is the last time we run into this book?
I doubt it. I really hope not.
Who do you think? Who do you think will have this book next?
Well, I mean, Egwene already had talked about it, so
I'm surprised Rand didn't steal it from the Queen's Blessing. Yes,
I wish he would have had time to give it a little perusal, though. Maybe he doesn't like it as much as he used to. Maybe he's grown up.
He says he's a huge fan.
He's up and he's all grows up.
He hasn't had time to read lately.
No.
Well, actually, sorry.
He's been reading historic novels.
Yeah,
that's not true. He hasn't had time to read for enjoyment.
Right.
Yes.
He hasn't had any time for any light reading, but he's been reading aplenty.
Yes.
All right.
So I hope we hear from it again because I will be very disappointed if we don't.
Well, I'm sure it'll crop its way up at some point here. Can you crop your way up?
Yeah.
Something crops up. Yeah. Crops grow up. Right.
That's how they grow. Up, so maybe you can crop your way up.
I hear that corn does.
Yeah. All right. So what shook my willow this week was what we get from Joran when she offers to cover the entire cost of the trip to Tanchico. Not only does she lose out on all of the trade, so they're not getting any trade money, but then just because of the Coromor, she's going to pay for the entire trip out of her own coffers.
She's going to foot the bill.
Which has got to be a lot of dough.
But she gets that letter from the girls.
No, she doesn't. No,
she gives it back.
She gives it back to them and says, I'll pay for this myself. Yeah. I hope they're aware of the huge sacrifice that she's making for somebody that she's only read about in books.
Well, he is like the one that's going to save them all. So,
right. But I just get the feeling that, if they had talked to any other sale mistress, they wouldn't have gotten the same sacrifice. This woman seems to be incredibly devout to this Coromor.
Well, I wonder, was she pulled there by Taviran Pol?
Well, we could say that about anything. Any sort of positive.
Well, you could, but you're going along with this point, so I'm going along with that point.
But there's the prophecy about the fact that this Coromor is going to have the Aes Sedai in front of him on their knees, washing his feet with their hair.
Right.
Yeah, that did not go over well.
And did not go over well with the two women who have known Rand since he was a child.
And they did probably wash him, or Nynaeve did at one given point. Maybe
Probably.
with their hair.
So that's really sweet. This is the trifecta of the saviors now. We have the Dragon Reborn, he who comes with the dawn, and the Koramor. So everybody's got their savior here for the end of the world, and a litany of prophecies to go along with it. It'll be interesting to see if they all tie in with each other, or if some of these different prophecies contradict with each other at some point. And one person needs to occur contradicts with what another group's prophecy needs to occur.
Yeah, what if Rand doesn't add up in all of them?
Right. Yeah. The salvation calculus doesn't add up to 100.
How long have you been loading that up in the shop?
That was off the top of the head, man. That just came right off the old gray cell.
Oh, I like it.
Just the one.
The little gray cells.
That's right. All right, so that's what shook my.
Wait,
will.
I have a side question in this.
Sidebar.
So you said that Bear or not Bear. Sorry, you said that the ladies didn't take the 3,000 coins from the letter.
Joran, right?
Yeah, Joran did not.
It gave them rights to get up to that. It wasn't that
How much money are we talking?
What do you think? 3,000 gold marks. She said it was enough to buy several ships.
Boats. Yeah, several ships. I mean, at first Nynaeve thinks they've got enough money to buy a fleet, and then she pairs it back to several ships. So it's way
the Nina and the Pinta
and the Santa Maria.
Yeah,
at least all of Columbus.
Are we talking like an armada?
Right, the Spanish Armada. Exactly.
Okay,
but not the Spanish Inquisition.
Not an armada, but yeah, 5 or 6 ships. I think would be realistic, and they got a lot of money. I mean, Nynaeve is astounded by how much money they're given. Even Elaine, who's used to large coffers, is like, this is a lot of dough. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do, Dave, tell us what shook your willow.
Mine involves Matt inside the next twisted stone on Grial, and these guys wearing skin. Creepy.
Super gross and kind of just glossed over.
Yeah.
Well, not really. I mean, Matt notices it and tells them, hey, you're not getting my skin for your little halter top there.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
It would probably reek too, and their foxes.
I hope Matt.
No, it wouldn't reek. It's been tanned. Tanned.
I don't know that it put the lotion on its skin.
It might smell like a little bit of a jerky.
Right.
No.
Maybe.
No,
I'm not sure.
Been cured. It's just
jerky is cured.
Your leather does not smell too funny if it's been tanned properly. It does.
I don't know about their tanning prowess, but I will say that
this is an interesting conversation
they probably
we're
don't
getting
smell
into
very
here.
good to begin with. So
how good does human leather smell?
Yeah, probably not.
Pretty good.
No,
I'm going with not.
I'm thinking probably not. It's probably not something that evolution would have selected to smell good over time.
And let's think about this.
Let's not get into this. It's going to smell like ham.
So there's how many dead people are they getting this from? Because there's a bunch of people wearing this. So
it's not there's. How far into this conversation do we really want to go?
Well, my point is
that's true because they said it's been a long, long time.
They're very thin straps that they're wearing.
Well, okay, but there's only so much long, thin strap on a person's body if you think about it.
Yes,
so
they've obviously killed
quite a few
bunch of people.
I've seen Predator. People. I know how it is.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know how this works.
Yeah.
Speaking of aliens and ships, let's sail away with the Athan Mier, a.k.a. the Sea Folk, the sea shanty, and talk about what we learn about them and sort of what we learn of the girls while they're on that ship there. These women are portrayed as being these exotic creatures, and we get finally some kind of insight into them. There's been a lot of conversation up to this point about how Aes Sedai identify other women that can channel. And we've had reference to the fact that they can sense the power in other women. It's how Moiraine discovered Nynaeve and Egwene, and, obviously anybody else that she's around who can channel. We finally get this firsthand from some of our accepted. So Egwene,
it's at the same time, pretty much.
Elaine specifically says that something about the Windfinder or the Windfinder reminded her of Avienda.
Mm-hmm. And at first she experiences it as an affinity with these characters.
Right. Not Xfinity.
Like she did with Avienda.
Two different things.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And then she finally is able to put her finger on exactly what it is. And you're right, it was Elaine. I said Egwene, but it's actually Elaine. So they finally experience this whole part of being
the sensing.
They're not Aes Sedai yet, but this whole part of being a trained woman who can channel, which I found interesting. So now they'll know whenever they're around a woman who can channel, they're going to know that woman can channel, whereas up to this point they haven't really been able to identify that. We learned that the Athon Mier have this Jendai prophecy where Rand sort of comes up as the Koramor in it. And we get a little bit of development of their history from this prophecy. It's where the whole idea that you mentioned that the White Tower shall be broken by Rand's name and Aes Sedai shall kneel to wash his feet. We laughed at the idea of them washing his feet with their hair, but we also get this idea that the White Tower is going to be broken by him. And we know that there's division in the White Tower, or at least up to this point, there's been concern over how the White Tower would treat him. And now Swan is running off to declare that the tower is behind him. And Min has had all of these visions of some cataclysmic event, happening at the tower. Does anybody else think that something really bad is going to happen at the tower very, very soon?
There is.
Oh, yeah.
And her name is Min. She knows something very bad is going to happen at the tower. No one's taking her seriously.
Well, we talked about this before, where it just seems like Swan is fixated on this idea of the Black Aja.
Well, she's also fixated on the idea of the world at large, not the world in front of her.
Yeah, sure, right.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that she was being a bad, quote-unquote, leader.
Well, it's macro versus micro, I suppose.
Right,
sure.
And you have to, and it's a matter of prioritizing, but
things are going to hit the fan.
It just seems as if she needed to pay some attention to some of these more granular details than she has, and we're getting more and more information, which is there's big trouble for the tower very, very soon.
We also learn a little bit about the boat's hierarchy, in terms of, her husband comes in and
the politics of the ship itself. Yep.
Yeah. And with her sister also.
And he had 2 rivers to back.
I wonder if we're just going to keep coming into this. It's like the Shire Leaf. We're going to keep seeing 2 rivers to back, everywhere throughout the whole of the realm. And everyone's going to be like, this is the greatest thing.
He got it on the cheap.
He felt like he was getting it for cheap based on where they were going, which they're not going anymore.
No.
So all that stuff that he was so excited about just got flushed.
Maybe she had some in her snood. Apparently, the women go around half naked on the boat once they're off the side of the land.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nudity going on in these few chapters.
And tattoos. Sweet.
Yeah. Nudity and tattoos.
We learn the history of these people. It appears that after the breaking of the world, they take a bunch of ships and go out into the ocean while the ocean is kind of roiling around.
Out on the ocean.
And it's not until after everything calms down, which we don't really get a sense of how long the breaking lasted. Was it a couple of days? Was it a couple of years? How long was it?
It's a 7 days type of thing.
Right. Right, exactly. But it, the thing that was interesting to me is they took ships that they didn't know how to use. She mentions that they didn't really know what they were doing on these ships. And I just wonder, did they just steal somebody else's ships? Were there a bunch of ships in the harbor and this clan of people were just like, heck, we're getting out of here. We're taking these ships.
Nobody's around.
Right,
would you blame them?
No, but it's just
seems
funny.
like a good day to sail.
Because they didn't know how to use the ships, so it's not like they were sailors.
No better time than the
beforehand.
present.
So they just took somebody else's ships and hightailed it to sea.
Those people probably died.
They probably did.
Maybe they died because they didn't have the ships to escape on.
Right. Right, exactly. And now they've created this entire culture that is born on the sea. People go out to the sea or onto a rowboat, even in if they don't have any other choice, in order to bear their children. All their burials occur at sea. This is an entire seaborn nation, which
and they've been able to keep secretive. They've been able to hide this power that they have, and now it seems like they're kind of scared about the fact that the tower is going to know about them.
Yeah, they've made a choice. Joran.
That's a
decided,
big choice.
Yeah, it is. It is, because as much as Elaine is saying she'll keep this a secret, the genie's out of the bottle.
No way.
The toothpaste is out of the tube.
Well,
yeah, she swears by her own household, but the tower's going to interfere with this now, and I mean, the tower's always going to interfere.
Yep.
And they're always going to want those people to be with them.
Mm-hmm. The tower knows.
Kind of like, the Shan-Chen. They just go about it a different way.
Like a much, much different approach.
Yeah, the tower has some arrogance about the way that they train people, and it's interesting, and we can compare this later too, because we get this comparison
definitely.
between the wise one and how the tower do things. But you do know, and they've got other reasons to be desperate. Their numbers are dwindling, so you can understand why they would want to be clutching at whatever they can get.
Straws,
But when you have this society people who's been deliberately hiding this thing because they don't trust you, it does seem like this is not going to be good for their culture.
Well, especially in terms of what we've learned about the tower in these books, and then what we've learned about the tower specifically in this book, and the fact that it is going to get attacked.
Right.
They are grasping at straws, and then they're only looking toward one thing. It just seems like that you can't trust the tower.
Yeah, it's an institution that seems to be in demise.
Yeah.
Which we've been talking about since the outset of this story.
Indeed.
We get a little bit of Nynaeve and Elaine here, and the way that they're trying to handle this. I mean, they're kind of talking amongst each other as they come up onto the wave dancer, and Elaine is trying to encourage Nynaeve to act tactfully. And Nynaeve has a moment of self-reflection where she laughingly acknowledges that, yes, she can act tactful if she tries to, but she also realizes that the concern over her temper is a legitimate one.
Yeah, she's grumpy from the get-go.
Well, first of all, Elaine puts all their cards on the table, and then Nynaeve just shows them how much money she's got in the one writ of finances.
She just gives up the ghost right away.
Right. So she robs them of all of their bargaining power. Now, it turns out to not matter at all, but it's one of those moments. And Elaine recognizes, oh my gosh, she's going to be upset at me for saying what I did. And now she's just gone and revealed how much money we have to lay into this proposition.
But it seems like
also Elaine is the one that recognized the fact that it should be called a gift rather than a payment.
Right. Elaine keeps her head throughout the whole thing and maintains the protocol that's necessary for the transaction of the gift. What were you saying about the gift?
The rite of passage. The gift of passage.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's
which is essentially just payment.
Right. Yeah. So that's the Athan Mier. They're obviously going to become as big a part of this story as the Aiel are at this point. They're this other sect that has been brought into the fold. They have the same sort of savior paradigm that the Aiel and the people of Westland have. So I don't see why they wouldn't be, just as important. And I mean, I think at this point they're going to be a constant in this story. So during the travel, Elaine is trying to figure out what's going on with Tom and why he rings a bell in her memory.
She pinches his mustache.
Yeah, she's trying.
Such a weird move.
It is a weird move. It's a reflex, though. It's a reflex that she doesn't even totally understand.
Yeah, but I mean, she hasn't done it for...
Well, how about his reaction?
I think it's a bit of a stretch. I'm just going to put it out there. It's a bit of a
he
stretch.
knows who she is.
Right.
But when she does the old tuggaroo, he's just kind of like, I don't know why you did that. Yes, you do.
Well, he also does mention about 10 minutes later that she reminds him of her mother, so that doesn't last long.
Right, which all she does is she just takes that as you shouldn't talk, you shouldn't, nobody should speak this familiarly about the queen.
And
exactly.
She doesn't understand why
he's
doing it.
A little canoodling,
right?
With the queen,
yeah.
Or what's Matt's phrase?
He's invested in not letting people know about his relationship with Morghese, though. I mean,
I understand that. That's why I'm saying that
a kiss and a cuddle.
Was
that's
broken
what it is.
Down to the point that he actually mentioned that he knew her, which is a big deal for him because he is not.
He had a moment, a couple moments where he could have revealed why, but he did not. He's keeping it close to the vest for a reason, and I don't know what that reason is.
Yeah, no, but there's definitely a break in Tom's character that takes place when it comes to her, which makes sense because obviously he has a soft spot for the girl.
Yes, just not enough to tell her that he knows her. There's some.
He all but has.
There's some Days Damar going on there. I don't know why, but
I think that's a breaking down of Days Damar. I think I honestly think that he's this is the kink in his armor.
You think he's revealing too much?
I don't know. Ultimately, this is a much softer side of Tom than we've seen, and it's a very short scene, and there's a lot of softness that's put there.
It does lead us into our next segment, which is Life is Like a Storybook Story, where in that conversation, in order to keep the conversation going so she can try to figure out who he is to her, she brings up this whole idea of, hey, Loyal is writing this story about Rand, why don't you compose an epic poem about him? And Tom suggests, well, I could do that, but we're at the end of this age here, and anything I comprise is ultimately going to end up being completely forgotten. Who knows what happens at the end of this age? There's some sort of cataclysmic event that they're heading toward that is like the breaking, and we know the damage that the breaking did to all the historic knowledge that they have.
Tom wants to compose something that's going to be around for a while.
Of course.
Tom does have a little bit of an ego about him.
Well, yes, he does, but he has a different view, and he has an educated view of how storytelling takes place and how all this stuff goes down throughout history. And he sees how this is laid out, that maybe even the smallest pebble is going to cause a ripple down the way.
We've seen stuff from the other ages pass over.
Well, no, his point is we have these stories, but we don't know whether they're true or whether there is a kernel of truth in them, he suspects. But he even suggests, who knows, in 300 years, Egwene or Elaine, you could end up actually being the hero of this story.
Well, but that's kind of weird because he's the one writing it. So is he questioning the veracity of his own words?
No.
He's saying how story changes. Changes.
It's not just about oral tradition. It's also about the fact that there's about to be a cataclysmic event that is going to most likely kill a bunch of people and uproot a bunch of other people. And anytime something like that changes, a lot of the written history disappears. And all you're left with is a giant centuries-long game of telephone.
So is it better to, is he thinking it's better to not do it at all? Or just let somebody else do it so he doesn't, that's very confusing to me.
Creating an epic poem takes a lot of energy and effort, and it's frustrating when you know that 75 years from now, it might not survive, or if it does survive, it may be completely misinterpreted.
See, I don't see it that way. I don't think that there was frustration on his viewpoint. I think all he was saying is that stories change, is that down the way it goes, it might be something different.
Well, he's definitely not going to do it.
Yeah, of course he's saying stories change, but he's using one of the reasons why he might not compose an epic is because they're so close to this major event. I think his conversation with her, if it had been 100 years earlier and the Dragon Reborn was nowhere to be seen, would be totally different.
Yeah, I think it's because he'd get credit for it. I think he's a bit of a...
Everybody who writes something wants credit for it. Anybody who creates something wants credit for it.
I don't think Loyal cares about that so much. Loyal cares about the story. Loyal cares about getting the facts and
Loyal's still going to put his name in the book as the author.
But I don't think he's hung up on that. I think he's hung up about getting the story right, because that's what he always indicates. I want to get everything right. I didn't get to hear this about this. I didn't get to hear this about that. That's what Loyal cares about.
I mean, I think you're,
Tom is a bard. He cares about the audience.
I think
clapping and cheering.
I think you're right. I think that there are I think that you might find some historians who are less concerned about that. But I think when you talk about 90% of artists who produce something, they are concerned about being associated with their work. I don't think I'm jumping out on some crazy
no, but I think we're seeing a huge difference between Tom and
very
Loyal.
Concerned about his historic.
But even Thomas Aquinas was concerned about being associated with his writs of logic. So it's interesting. We're heading towards something that is really similar to the breaking of the world. There is some suggestion in this that there is about to be a major upheaval at the end of this age, and there aren't always, upheavals at the end of every age. And so Tom is also kind of wondering, what will this transition be? Will it be a benevolent transition from one age to the next, or is it more likely, as he suspects?
Well, we know Rand's going off to fight the Dark One,
right.
So that's not going to be an easy walk through the park.
Yep, it's going to be.
But he's already fought him 3 times.
Right, yeah. Right. Or not, for that matter.
Even at this point, I think Rand knows that's not true. All right, so let's pray for Moiraine here. We get a whole lot of her of kind of what she's thinking about at this point from her moment in the Stone of Tear.
Moiraine inner monologue.
The moment outside of the Portal Stone, the moment in Sean Deere. There's a lot that we have to learn about, or we learn about Moiraine here.
So Moiraine says something at the beginning of Into the Heart, chapter 21. She says, I have done what had to be done there. She will have him if I die and not before. Does that mean that Nynaeve is the Aes Sedai Moiraine is sending land to?
Yeah, we definitely get the first full-on confirmation that Nynaeve is the end point of Lan's transition.
She's the end point. She is not the beginning.
Crazy.
Why? She's not Nynaeve. Cool.
What's crazy is because Nynaeve is a total jerk to her.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
She's not the Nynaeve. Entire time.
To put it from let's say a blacksmith's perspective, she recognizes a valuable tool in Lan. She knows his worth. She knows what he is. She also recognized the worth of Nynaeve. She knows she's probably going to be something fantastically great in the tower. She may be annoying as snot, which she is, and snotty. But from what I'm seeing, there's going to be those two are going to be together. Lan's pledged himself to Nynaeve. Nynaeve's pledged himself to Lan. Keeping them apart would be probably disastrous. So I think she's taking a very pragmatic approach about it.
I think it's the opposite. I think she's taking a romantic approach to it. I think she recognizes that they're in love. She's seeing changes in Lan, and I think she knows that they should end up together. But practically, and maybe this is where the pragmatism comes in, there are some things that have to be accomplished before that. If she dies,
Lan's gonna
she
go
and he can... Yeah, this is also romantic, though it is pragmatic as well, but it's more romantic. She doesn't want him going off and dying, trying to avenge her death and robbing Nynaeve of her companion also. So I think most of it is we get an insight into Moiraine having a soft spot here and not being all cold logic, that she can recognize two people in love and try to figure out a way to make it happen while still achieving her own ends.
I didn't get any.
I don't know if I believe that. I don't think I buy that. I think she knows something that we don't.
I guess we'll just wait and see.
In terms of that Lan, some information about Lan's past history, we keep finding out new tidbits of it. Maybe she knows something about his history. That's not how Moiraine is, and I don't agree that would be it because it's romantic.
So Moiraine knows about the White Cloaks. Speaking of White Cloaks, Moiraine knows about them in Two Rivers. Before Rand makes his big announcement, she's constantly in fear of him following his heart and chasing after and going back to the Two Rivers and avoiding what she sees as his duty. Well, we probably would agree is his duty. I think it's interesting that Rand does the right thing here and hopes that Perrin can do what he would like to be able to do himself. Moiraine doesn't know yet that Rand has the maturity to be able to make that type of decision.
Who better than Perrin?
Moiraine doesn't know that Egwene knows about Elaine and Rand. She thinks that Egwene must still be jealous of what's going on with Rand and Elaine.
See, that's why she's totally wrong with romance about it. She can't see it.
That's your
Wait, what did I miss?
evidence. Moiraine thinks to herself that she's concerned about Egwene finding out about what's been going on between Elaine and Rand.
Oh, right.
Hey, girl, not that big of a
when
deal.
She was part of the impetus behind it.
Moiraine wanted Egwene and Nynaeve out of the way. So the main reason she sent them to Tanchico is not because she thinks there's something legitimate going on there.
Elaine and Nynaeve, yeah.
Elaine and Nynaeve. Well, right. Well, she wanted Egwene to go with them too. She's disappointed that Egwene is instead heading off to the Waste. But she thinks, and you thought, Dave, that the plan in Tanchico seemed far more possible than the freeing of Mazrim Taim. And yet Moiraine thinks that it is the Mazrim Taim freeing which is more likely, and she's sending them off on a mission which she really is just to kind of get them out of her hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're all geared up to go on this mission that Moiraine is like, well, hopefully we learn what's going on with the Athan Mier and whether or not they have women who can channel on their ships. I'd like to learn that. Anything else that comes out of this is just a bonus.
Yeah. So you're sending out on like a snipe hunt, basically.
Right. Yeah, exactly. She's also frustrated that she feels like Egwene is moving farther and farther out of her grasp. It's interesting where we are now versus the night when Moiraine first revealed to Egwene that she could channel, and that whole moment in that little cave with the trying to light the bauble.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
That was after Moiraine became the size of a small Sears tower.
Of an ogre.
We've come a long way.
She had that fog going on for 1.4 miles.
You mentioned about her getting a different view on Rand. She witnesses the change in Rand when he's addressing the nobles of Tyr, and kind of the whole strategy he puts in place and the way he orchestrates things. And she realizes just kind of how he's not just the village youth anymore. He's becoming cold and calculated. And yeah, he's gotten good advice from Tom, but he's doing it himself too. She's like, oh, you made a mistake there. And then she's like, oh, maybe you didn't make a mistake there.
So all of these Two Rivers people are sort of moving beyond her grasp, even as she tries to put herself in position to be like the sort of sole kingmaker or the sole prime advisor to him. She's gotten rid of Elaine and Nynaeve. She has gotten rid of Tom. She's sending away all of these people that are close to him, and they're all demonstrating greater levels of self-reliance and maturity, and even, methods of thought where they're thinking through things more and acting more responsibly, more or less.
She does distinctly say to him, just don't wait too long to take my advice. So I think you made an interesting point that I've never once thought about, is that she is sending everybody else away, and or Perrin sends himself away, so she's not sending him away. Matt's still there, but
Rand sends Perrin away.
Let's face it, Matt's probably not the world's greatest person to take advice from. He's great for throwing a dice and figuring out where Roydian is, because you're not going there without him. But the other interesting point to that is, as many people as she is and or isn't sending away, he just picked up a whole bunch of other people.
Right, yeah.
That are, I'm sure, now going to be chiming in on things.
We think he's
because they're called
them up,
wise ones for a reason.
And we assume that he is he who comes with the dawn. But the Aiel still aren't really sure.
They're a little up in the air
sure
about that.
Let's stay on Moiraine here. She has sent everybody away,
There's a snake in the water hole.
But she actually does want Matt and Perrin close. Perrin's the one person she hasn't been monitoring, so he's wandered off and she doesn't know yet. She has no idea he's gone.
How could she not?
She hasn't been tailing him. She hasn't had eyes and ears watching him.
He's not with them. He isn't with the girls. So
there's a big group that they're with. There's a lot of Aiel that they're with. But you're right. She should have a feel about it, because you would think that he would be up there with her and Matt and Rand.
And wherever Loyal went.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And Fael.
So it is weird that she doesn't know.
on Fael. She reveals that interesting She's not telling Perrin some vital information that Perrin should know about that may well change the way he feels about Aiel.
Yeah.
I really want to know what that is.
It's like we've got a sleeper cell here in the party, which I've always thought she was.
You have been saying that, Eric. I will throw that out.
Don't trust her.
It's interesting the way that she thinks, the best way she thinks it to reveal it to Aiel is through having one of her eyes and ears divulge that she knows versus an open confrontation over it. But there's something there that's not good.
There's a juicy tidbit.
She reemphasizes the significance of the three boys being Ta'veren and like it really sort of starting to dawn on her, the impact and the importance of all three of them together, where it seems like Balsamon realized it much sooner than she did.
She was so focused on the one. It's like three suns spinning. One's obviously the biggest of the suns, and the other two suns are spinning around him, but they're all pulling everything else in. She actually
uses the analogy, it's like Tom juggling three balls at the same time.
Let's say that I wasn't far off.
No, she uses that analogy directly. She's afraid that Rand is listening to Lanfear.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like really concerned that he might legitimately be listening to her.
He was initially.
I'm a little concerned about it.
You are?
Yeah.
Rand was initially.
So what are you worried about Rand doing?
Lanfear has been able to present herself very, very thoroughly
and convincingly
with the use of the power, even a couple chapters ago, pinning him up against the wall.
We know Lanfear could make Rand do what she wants at this point. Rand is
so she's able to do that. She's also able to be very, very.
She's a good manipulator, so I can see it being a legitimate concern that he might not realize she's having him do things that are not in his or the world's interest.
And she's been around 3,000
and Rand is
years.
withholding information. Rand is withholding information from Moiraine about things that Lanfear has told him.
He is.
I don't necessarily disagree with him doing that, but I don't think that's a good.
We all know you do.
Well, for me,
that goes unsaid.
The reason is because it's like
it's Moiraine.
She's the Forsaken. What if it's going to be good? None.
Oh no, I disagree.
So any information she's giving Rand, you best spill those beans because it's not going to end well.
It would be good to filter any information that she gives, but at this point, she's a better teacher for him when it comes to using the power than Moiraine is. Anybody from the Age of Legends is going to be.
But she can't teach him. It's like a fish.
Anybody?
What did we say?
They're not going to be better teachers, but they're going to have more knowledge.
He's gonna certainly learn things from her that he wouldn't learn from Moiraine.
Right,
and they're probably destructive things, which may be beneficial. I mean, except for the fact that he can't learn to weave.
So let's dive into Little Sword in the Stone. One of the things I think we're learning about Rand is that he has matured a lot and he does make good decisions. At this point, I trust him a little bit more to be able to kind of filter through some of this stuff with an eye on the fact that Lanfear is a really, really good manipulator. But I do trust Rand to be able to kind of at least judge a little bit about how to kind of use some of the information that she's giving him. I trust him a lot more than I did, the kid a book and a half ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the fact when he just strode into Tyr and he was talking to all of them, he's been reading a ton of books.
That's my concern. He's
knowledgeable now?
Well, there's a difference between being book smart and street smart. And he's relying a lot on prophecy and a lot on things and doing it because, it's prophecy. It has to happen. So I've got to do this.
What's Moiraine relying on?
Everything that Moiraine and
that's where things are hitting heads.
She's relying on prophecy too. They're both relying on the same thing.
Right, but
her and Swan are.
The approach is vastly different in the way those two are doing it, though. Rand is approaching it with this carefree, careless attitude of it's going to work out. It's prophecy. She's approaching it from it's prophecy, so we need to do it. He's just doing it kind of willy-nilly going along. Everything's going to be fine. See, it was prophesied, so I'm going to slam this thing into the stone. Nothing bad can come of it. It's prophecy. That's the way he's approaching it. Oh. That's the way he approached slamming the stone. He was blatantly glib about it.
There's a trap there.
Yeah,
he didn't just slam it into the stone and then walk away.
There's a trap that he set.
Right.
He Rand. Mm-hmm. How much does Rand know versus the Forsaken? Jack squat. So we're
I
going to
don't know.
assume
Rand was doing some pretty incredible stuff when he was chasing one of the Forsaken.
which one?
The last time we saw him fight a
I
Forsaken.
think we're gathering that's one of the lowest of the Forsaken from what we've seen.
Well, he was creating matter out of thin air.
Right.
So
I'm going to take one of the Forsaken's knowledge over Rand any day of the week. Times 3.
I can understand that. He seems to think it's a pretty good trap that he's set. I don't know where he's getting this knowledge from.
That's my question.
But we also have very little story that develops how he's learning any of this stuff.
I don't know.
So you don't trust him is what it comes down to. You don't think he's smart enough to be able to do some of the stuff he's trying to do.
I don't think he's as smart as he thinks he is. And there's a difference. I think his britches are getting a little big for his being able to back it up.
I don't think he's getting arrogant. I think he's getting confident. And I think he's putting his time in. It seems like he went through and he read those books. If I were given 3 wishes, one of my wishes would be if I could like put my hand on any book that I would gain all the knowledge that I could gain from it. Maybe Rand has this ability.
Well, just because you gain the knowledge doesn't mean you use the knowledge in the right way.
All right, King Solomon.
Well, but that's an important, hugely important difference.
It doesn't mean that you use the knowledge in the right way.
Yes.
We also do know that Rand has been successful at every one of these ventures that he's made so far.
He's getting a lot of history, and it seems like what he's doing is honestly good economics.
Something about it just
from sending these people out.
I'm becoming very concerned with the way he's approaching things. There's just something about it.
Stuff is happening really, really fast. He is definitely forcing the issue. He is pushing the envelope on all of this Tarman guidance stuff.
Yes, but he is doing very well at it up to this point. He's doing
how
a very
long can
good
that
job.
last?
He went through
it's a fair
and
concern.
he made everybody travel through the portal stones without, living 1,000 lives terribly.
Right.
That's like the gambler that just keeps gambling and gambling because he wins once. He thinks he's going to keep winning. They're not all Matt.
Well, he's trusting.
But he recognizes who Matt is. He's actually recognized. He's gained wisdom. He recognizes who Matt is, and he's like, "Oh, I can utilize you."
And they don't. He doesn't accidentally land on the symbol that represents Roy Dien.
He thought he knew it.
No, he has help.
Well,
he has knowledge. He understands who would know about it.
He uses the information from Rourke, and he tells Matt, "This is what your coin chose, right?" And Matt's shocked. So there are a lot of. If you want to
not
call
only
them,
the information from
that,
Rourke, he listens to the information from no one else knew about this except for one other person, basically.
Right.
The fact that there were like 4 portal stones in the area.
Right. Yeah. Just to find the portal stones in the first place requires a lot of understanding, and he's been doing a lot of historic research.
Yeah, he's doing well. Something about it is making me very uneasy.
So part of what Rand is trying to do now, he's trying to make something happen fast. So we've got...
It's all the stuff with Kyrian, too, let's not forget.
Right. So we've got this moment in the stone. Moiraine has been waiting very patiently to find out what Rand's next move is. She wants Rand to do something where he buys himself time to learn more about his abilities. Up to this point, he's been reacting to what we now know are the Forsaken that are out there in the world. And he needs to do something that they react to. He needs to do something that is completely unexpected and yet aggressive in some way. And
we haven't seen the aggressive yet, but we've seen on the unexpected for sure.
And so first of all, he in the Stone of Tyr, he makes these announcements. Moiraine has been talking to Elaine about war and Rand using
what
war
is it good for?
As a way to get some of the Forsaken wrapped up in something that can buy Rand time. And Rand instead announces this peace project, this peace mission to Cairhien. He's going to take Asmodean and Sunamon and Torian and Malin and
he's definitely not taking Asmodean.
The High Lady Altima.
Asmodean's one of the Forsaken.
No.
He's not going with him.
I said Sunamon.
You definitely said Asmodean.
You said Asmodean. It's the first person you said.
Oh. No, he's not taking any of the Forsaken.
It'd be pretty sweet if he took it. They became buddies. They're like, I've understood my ways. I'll just produce some grain out of my palms.
He takes all these High Lords that are plotting against him. Well, first of all, I think he uses Sunamon as the guarantor for the Mayenne peace treaty, or he uses Torian and Malin as the leaders of the peace mission to Cairhien, and he sends Lady Altima there. And then he puts the High Lady Estanda in charge of in charge.
The other woman's husband.
We get all that rigmarole. But Egwene is really pleased to see that he doesn't create a war. Moiraine points out, hey, you're probably going to see just as much death through this situation as you would through a war, so let's not count our chickens before they hatch. So that is what happens on this side of the
portal stone.
of Kinslayer's dagger. I enjoy the moments with Matt and Rand as they're heading to Roy Dien.
First of all, I was impressed the portal stone victory went perfectly fine.
So was Matt. Matt was
and
happy
everyone else
to not live
really
another 1,000 lives.
Yeah. So Rand got it right.
He got it right with a little help of a coin toss.
The fat man Angreal.
Not only a little help of that, but the research that he did from 600 years ago on the peddler.
Right. He probably should have researched that Buddha Angreal a little bit better. He just barely gets by with that.
That is true.
He acknowledges that. Maybe I should use a little stronger one.
But then he's able to convince the wise ones to head off to Rydien. He takes Matt with him. He draws water into the well. He finds the Avendasora tree, and they have that moment of peace there.
What on earth?
Hey, that's where it's been. The Green Man didn't know where it went. It was
where
here.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, because they kept it secret, because everyone loves keeping things secret.
Apparently, it travels around. It's sort of like the Stanley Cup.
You have it this year. Maybe you do next year.
Well, we gotta
see how good you can do.
We started hearing when he was talking with the wise ones about his past and his lineage, and that got shushed up real fast.
Well, they say it's his story to tell. They're not gonna.
They say that it's his father, not his mother.
Right. So that's some new bits of information, because up to this point we thought it was his mom that was the Aiel.
Yeah.
I'm so confused by this.
We suspect that Tam found him alone, so we don't really know who his parents are. We've had
we know who they aren't.
We talked about the children of
Tigraine,
Tigraine, and Luke, and them seemingly involved in this story somehow. But now it seems like the dad was the Aiel and the mom was not.
Yeah.
But that's all we know. That's all we get. They shut up pretty quickly after that.
And then tradition's changing.
A lot of it.
The Aiel tradition has just changed on the spot in the instant that Rand arrives.
So let's get into some I'll be there for you here. We get two references to the Coplins and the Congers in this segment.
I know we do.
Fantastic.
First in reference to the dilapidated farmhouses just outside of Tyr, and then to Couladin himself.
Yeah.
So there you go. Why don't we start with Rand's request to visit Rydien? So they arrive there on the desert. They're immediately in this incredibly searing heat. There's that great description of Egwene, where all of a sudden all of her skin starts to get prickly and then sweat just bursts out of all of her pores. I mean, your body gets thrown from a moderate temperature situation to that extreme heat. It's just going to go crazy.
Yeah, it's great. And then Lan comes quick to the action.
And
as is his wont.
And then everybody and their mother decides they want to go to Rydien. So Rand initially.
How hot do you think it is?
Oh, it's probably 110, 115 degrees.
It's Phoenix heat in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's somewhere between 110 and 120. Is that hot enough for you?
No.
No.
That doesn't meet your
I prefer, 130, 135.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's like that.
I want to be able to smell my skin boiling the minute I step outside the door.
It was at your wedding,
may not be able
in Fresno.
To move. But these are special people.
So Rand gets in front of the wise ones and does this special salute. Where does he learn this salute from?
This is my question. Yeah, and he says, by the light of blood, I asked leave to enter Rydien for the honor of our ancestors and the memory of what once was.
And you'll have to forgive our pronunciations of Rydien and Rydien and Rydien, because it's a very difficult word to pronounce.
Like, Lan was teaching him stuff not that long ago.
It is very similar to the salute that he gives to Morgaze.
Or Swan Sanche, for that matter.
Yeah, so maybe it is because because the wise ones also say this is not the normal. This is a much more ancient form of the request.
I think it was probably a book thing.
Yeah,
He must
she
have read
says
it in a
an
book or
ancient
something.
form.
The combination, I think it's a combination of the book
Could've
and
been.
land, because it seems very similar to the bow that he gives Morgaze. I seem to remember
It does,
him
but Rand has
putting his
definitely
palm
been-
up.
Rand has
Not to
been
more
reading.
gaze. No,
Rand
When he-
has been reading.
When
yeah.
he went to more gaze,
It's
Land
to
didn't teach
Swan.
him
Oh
anything
no, you're
for
right.
that.
It is
was
Swan Sanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
it's
Swan
Swan.
Sanche.
Rand just got his butt dumped on the floor by Talonvor when he was with more gaze.
So he does that, and Matt's like, "Well, I gotta get to Rydien also. So here we go." And
Well-
they just look at him. They're like, "No."
Well, Matt has no choice.
It is kind of nuts that he just goes in there and then they're just they're basically like, well, things are changing.
Well, no.
These times they are a change.
At first they say
fortunate.
no, and then Rand says, "Well, he's
And then-
my and one."
And Couladin
Right.
tries to kill him.
Wait, you see?
Yeah.
I got this ticket here.
Right.
I got this ticket for him.
I RSVP'd. I RSVP'd.
Yeah.
He's on the invitation.
It's from White Christmas. They got the 2 tickets to the club car.
Right, exactly. He gets to come with
You
and-
wouldn't do that to me now, would
So,
you?
but anyhow, so when Matt does this, then this guy,
Couladin.
who by the way doesn't seem so cool.
I'm gonna call him Kool-Aid
No.
Man.
No. 'cause
Oh yeah,
Kool-Aid Man is awesome. This guy's a ponce.
But every time we talk about him now, I'm gonna go.
Dave was very
Oh,
quick to
yeah.
say Kool-Aid Man.
Right, yeah. David doesn't like Kool-Aid.
Don't
Man.
you mess with Kool-Aid
I
Man.
don't know.
I like
Family
memories.
Guy doesn't really like Kool-Aid
I
Man
like
either.
Kool-Aid. I like Kool-Aid Man.
Family
I
Guy
like
made a
everything
lot
about
of
it.
money. Anyhow, so he tries to attack Matt. He stabs at him, but he gets flung back, and we discover, oh yeah, guess what? They can channel.
Or at least some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah,
Some
somebody
of the
there.
wiser ones.
Nobody move. Nobody get hurt.
can
Yeah.
channel. Yes, look that up.
Yes,
That's Easy E. Easy does it.
Run the Jewels does a
It is a
sample
great
of that song in one of theirs.
Run the jewels.
Yeah.
So Matt gets a poked at. Kool-Aid
What did you
Man
just
gets
say?
Matt gets a poked at.
Gets a poked at. Yeah, don't ask me. It wasn't very good.
I
but
thought
he
you
went
said
with it.
poked at.
A poked at.
Pope
Yes.
hat.
It's a pope.
Matt
And
gets a
I'm like,
pope hat.
No, he
He's
thought
a
he said
bishop now.
Matt gets a
Making me
poked
nervous
at.
around the
You
neck,
went
yeah.
with the hat. Poked at. We've had all sorts of fun with this very strange phrase that Eric just used.
So Kool-Aid
It's
Man
like the guy
gets,
pooping his
gets
pants.
flung away by
Yeah.
a couple of yards.
Kool-Aid Man.
He's still there to argue, though. He's still there arguing with them from
He's
way far
causing
away.
lots of consternation.
Yeah.
I
So,
still
but-
don't like you.
So everything that Moiraine knows, and she knows a lot, this surprises her.
That the
This
wise
is
ones
new
can channel.
information.
Right. That's new to her, but she knew that the sea folk could channel. So the people who aren't even on her continent and floating around, she suspected could channel, but
Well, she
not the wise ones.
suspected that sea folk could channel. I don't know that she knew.
Well, she didn't even suspect that these women could channel.
No,
No.
What real interaction she ever had with them before than that mysterious note that she got?
I don't know.
Doesn't seem like any of them have.
You would think that she would have more interaction with the Aiel than the sea folk. The sea folk aren't even on
the
this
Aiel haven't
continent.
been.
I know.
They might
there's
have
a
well not been.
giant mountain range
Right,
between
they've
them
been on
and
the
the
other
rest
side
of
of
the
the
world.
spine of the world
Yeah, I think Moiraine.
and had no inclination to come over except to kill Layman and Adam's chair.
Right.
That's
that
strike
sweet,
3 for
sweet chair.
Moiraine for me.
Yeah.
Wait, no, but whoa.
I'm just kidding.
He's just saying
are-
that to get our
is
goats.
You making her? You still think she's evil?
No, I don't think she's. I don't
She
think
might
she's
be
evil.
up to no good.
Right? Yes. I think she's a bit misinformed, but I don't think.
Well,
she's
no.
evil.
What is
In this
interesting?
case,
though, I mean,
underinformed.
we're gonna talk about it in a
Uninformed,
bit,
yeah.
I'm sure. But the fact that she knows a good bit of their old tongue in the language or whatever you call. I don't. It's not old tongue, but what they're
Right.
saying. She knows how to. She knows some
She does.
translations of that.
She does.
Does she know that of the sea folk?
I'm not sure.
I don't.
Maybe?
She probably does.
I don't know. The sea folks' past isn't as mysterious as the Aiel. This
Well,
whole
yeah.
Roy Dien thing makes the Aiel's past really mysterious. They do this entire trip there. The wise ones go there. The clan chiefs go
Yep.
there. They're not supposed to talk about it. I think that
Moiraine goes there.
Moiraine reveals that it is the resting place or the home of the Jen Aiel, and she parses out through the old tongue. That means the only true Aiel. What is that about?
Yeah.
Their past is very, very strange. I don't know that we think that
There's
of the sea folk.
things afoot.
interestingly, when they do run off, when he finally is able to convince them that Matt's going with him, they treat him like he's dead.
Yeah, you're dead to us. Yeah, it's like a...
Be
Until
gone
you come
from
back.
the living and do not haunt our memories, and they put their veils in front of their faces. So
Yeah, they can't talk to
Man.
him. Yeah.
I have a feeling people have not returned.
well, it's not just that, but it's their relationship with the Gen Aiel, which Moiraine gets into. Who
That
are
whole
the
thing is
Gen
very
and
confusing.
the Aiel that are the true Aiel and that sort of stuff. There is a tradition here with Rydien, which is going to be an interesting story. There's just a lot of mystery around that they won't talk about.
No. They're very closed mouthed about that.
Shortly after,
It seems a bit convenient. Whatever. We don't have to talk to him much. I'm just saying it seems a bit convenient that Matt can just get in.
well, he has to fight. He has to
He
fight.
is Taviran after all.
And
I guess.
it
I'm not
was-
going to
Maybe,
question.
maybe that does have part to do with it, Adam.
He's partially fated to do this also.
Not just
so he
Matt.
has fate working in his favor.
Not just Matt being Taviran, but you got 2 Taviran there.
Yeah.
So then shortly after those two run off, Lan is
Literally.
there alone, and then we learn that Lan has a name.
Anna Lane.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
super cool. The last of the Malkari.
He's called the One
Right.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be called the One Man.
No, they call him Annalene.
because he doesn't stand upright.
Super cool. Love this guy and hate his taste in women. But
right, you're on.
I love the fact
you're
that
on record.
Amice
And I dread his upcoming casting. I just know it's going to be
I know.
some
I've
miserable
been on record.
casting.
Amice says, he basically says it's woman's time. You need to leave.
Mm-hmm.
It's woman's day.
Well, it's like women's circle business.
Right.
The men can't
Oh, yeah,
have
absolutely.
anything to do with it.
I love
And and the alternative is the men's council. They don't let the women folk in.
No
so
one cares about the men's council.
I'm sure it's very boring and stupid.
Nobody cares.
A lot of
about it.
tobacco and, brandy wine.
Well, you
drinking.
got one guy that's hopping around on roofs.
Yes, we do. And he can never be mentioned enough.
So
We haven't mentioned him in a while.
we've
It's
seen
been too long.
we've seen Rand's impact now on two different societies. Technically,
I think I've
3.
seen it upon my life.
Well,
It
yes.
has
He's
impacted like
impacted
the
me.
last 7-8 months of your life.
Yes. So here's my question:
Oh, what is it, Eric?
Is
That was one of the
Rand
best accents you've ever done.
is Rand a uniter or a divider?
Ooh.
It's both. And then that's part of the prophecy that he's going to destroy and that he's going to bring together. So he's both.
That is a very good point that Dave brings up because that is in the prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go
Can't really argue
straight to the
with
book.
that. And then I'm just going to point out how he does divide and unite. So, I mean, he's both.
So if we were to put it on a sliding scale, which do you think he creates more of? Do you think he creates more division or more unity?
Division to this point. No, not. I'm
Oh.
sorry. I'm taking back in terms of friends.
Okay.
But
All
that's
he's
what
doing now is dividing everything.
that's
terms
what
of
Perrin's
he's
doing with the
Tyr.
Aiel also.
Yeah, he's dividing Tyr. He's Tyr.
What he's doing there.
Yeah. See, I'm
need
going to
to
disagree with
do-
what he's dividing Tyr.
Well,
I
let
think
Adam
the
finish
High
his
Lords
thought.
are
This is what their opinion of what is happening at this point. They can't see that it is for
they who?
the betterment, the High Lord. Morals
Division
here. I'm
can be
saying,
good.
what is he-
He could be dividing them for the good.
And everybody
It's normally not
knows
seen
that
that
this
way,
rumor
but
of
yes.
when this guy comes back, this dragon reborn, that it's deep, like the worst thing for the world.
Mhm.
But it's also what they need to save the world.
Mhm.
Right, exactly. So I'm saying that is going to divide more than actually bring together, especially at this point when there's so little known. And he's specifically coming to the Aiel, who seem to be united at this point, except for this Kool-Aid
No,
man.
Sheen.
It seems like what is offered about this him coming there. Obviously, rules are changing already.
And that's
Right.
also part of the prophecy, once again, is that he is going to destroy the Aiel.
Right.
But
So
a
I think
remnant of
he's-
the
yeah,
Aiel will
there's
be
no- I don't-
saved because
there-
if he doesn't do that, they will all be destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's your choice of you can either come to destroy and save part, or you can not come and they will all die.
Sure, but my point is made that there's way more division than unity going
But
on
look-
here.
look at-
but
let's
you're
look at the
talking about
unity, too.
perspective, Dave.
I am.
You're
I
talking
am.
about the perspective.
But look what he's doing with Tyr and Carrion. He's looking to help
ultimately, it would be a
unite
good
those
thing.
two to solve the unrest and civil war that's going on in Carrion, and he's using Tyr to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately his end goal is to unify everything, and he's trying to do that and what we have experienced from him in the past is trying to do the best for his friends in a situation, and now he's growing up, so he has that backbone and that stubbornness and that loyalty.
Yeah.
So that is trying to unite things, but to this point, everything that he's doing is specifically to tear it down.
Nobody would argue that Rand is trying to divide anything. He's focused on uniting the world so that he can have a united front against Sheotan. However, unintentionally, he is breaking up a lot of stuff.
Or maybe
some of
even
it good.
Intentionally. Yeah.
Some of it needs to be
I don't think it's
intentionally in some cases. Right. Yeah. In some cases, the caste system that existed in Tyr needs to be broken up. However, however, unintentionally, Moiraine also observes that the peace mission that he's sending to Cairhien is still going to end in a lot of bloodshed.
Yep.
So that's an unintentional divisive consequence of what he's doing. The Aiel have mentioned, and we've heard a number of different times, that he's going to break up the Aiel, but the Aiel are either going to get wiped out entirely or a small amount of them is going to survive. Those are the two different choices fate has left them. So Rand has to break them up in order for any of them to survive.
Mrs. Jordan's pulling from religion again here with that remnant being saved, not unlike the Jews in the Bible in the end times.
And I like this sort of ironic friction that's occurring here, where there is not going to be a happy ending to this. There isn't, in the sense of everything just being all right. We get the sense that this ending is going to be very, very layered. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about it now. We also
the end has no end. I don't think we're very far away from this ending, so I'm sure we're going to go through a lot of tiny endings along the way.
It's multifaceted, to say the least.
Some would call it a division.
Some would call me Tim.
So, Tim, we also learn a little bit about this warrior society and what makes it tick.
Couladin.
Not Kool-Aid Man.
Well, he apparently does for his clan.
Actually, he's sort of breaking some of this. We learn about the G at toe.
Yes.
G and toe. We learn that there's G and there's toe, right? And we learn
all forget about the It's utterly irrelevant.
Well, it just means
G and toe.
It's just a
Jam
conjunction.
your toe.
We learn that there are a couple of ways to attain G, and you dissipate G through toe, your obligation. So you can attain G by attacking somebody and
Capturing
during a
them.
fight and touching them without killing them.
Boop.
Right.
Boop,
And that's how they do it. They just go up, they sneak up behind somebody and boop them on the nose.
Yep. You're
Hey, buddy.
Tag!
Hey, buddy, I got your nose.
You're it, baggy eyes.
You're holding your thumb there. I got
Right.
your
Baggy
nose.
I got your nose. So there's that.
I
Did
don't
you
think it's
say
that.
baggy eyes?
I'm not sure what that meant.
It's a
That's
it's a Bugs Bunny reference.
Oh, okay.
That's
Zap
what he
baggy
calls. That's what he
eyes.
calls Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's killing somebody, which is the least amount of which leaves them
Least
with the
honor.
least amount of toe.
Anyone can kill anyone.
Right. Anyone can kill somebody is basically what
Even
they
a
say.
child.
I mean, this is a very, very complex society. And I love how everyone views them as the savages. But like their interrelational, I don't know what code of ethics.
It's a code.
Is really complex. And I love how, yeah, like you said, Egwene's trying to figure it out, and you can just see a flying what on her face. Like she's just like, what?
Yeah,
What is?
right.
But everyone, they're all
She
probably
thinks
like,
it's crazy.
What just
Right.
happened?
Well, I would tell you this
Your
much. if
sister's
that-
your
if that-
cousin, who's your mother's, your uncle's brother. What?
Yeah, if that were a group of people in our society, people would call them savages.
Sure. Yeah.
And they would be wrong.
I agree.
Their society,
Congratulations.
their rules seem complex, but their society is less complex because a society that actually adheres to a set of codes is always going to be less complex than a society that doesn't.
I have a feeling Kool-Aid Man is not one to adhere with the code.
He doesn't seem to be. First of all,
he doesn't listen very well.
He's the least stoic of the Aiel, to say one thing.
Yeah. So there's this whole other sect that came to show up.
The Shaido.
To protect. Basically this Kool-Aid guy. So that doesn't seem like a...
Well, they're the ones that seem to be ready.
That guy didn't come for that. Adam's talking about did not come from the Shaido.
He came to protect.
He came to protect Ruark.
Ruark from the Shaido. Yep. Right, Adam.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be honorable to actually say it. He's just showing up to do that. So how many septs do we know about?
There's a difference in naming them all and naming the ones.
I can name all the ones we've run into.
Okay.
Is the number 13?
Right. Yeah.
So you have the clans and then you have the septs.
Right.
So we've run into the Gen, who don't exist. The Goshain, the Nakai. They've been referenced, some of these. They haven't all been seen. The Shaido, the Sharad, the Tardad, and the Tomanel.
So there's one group of these Aiel that doesn't seem on board with what's happening right now. It just seems like trouble is a brewing because I bet there's more than one of this group of people that probably feels that way.
Well,
I would agree.
The trouble that these Shaidos seem to be willing to cause is also really unorthodox. I mean, and Kool-Aid Man acts really unorthodox.
I mean, that's all we know about. So all we know about
all the evidence we have thus far.
But he's the guy who wants to be their leader.
And his brother's in,
but has been in there in Rhuidean now for
a period of time,
while,
apparently,
long enough that most people think he's probably dead.
Yeah, but I'm just saying we have an example of that. So I don't know if that's going to be an outlier or.
Well, I mean, they're still talking about Rand needs to come out of Rhuidean in order for them to actually declare him as he who comes with the dawn.
Absolutely.
So there's
I have no clue what's happening next.
There's no tacit understanding that he is their leader yet. He's only dreaming of being their leader. Speaking of dreams, let's see what lies in dreams. So remember when right before they travel to Rhuidean, Moiraine says we may be about to see how useful dreaming really is.
Yeah.
We find out how useful dreaming really is here. We learn about, the dream walkers, and apparently part of dreaming is seeing into the future. And
vaguely.
Well, right. We know that Amis and Moiraine are the best dream walkers. Bear says that there are places that they can and can't go in the dream. So they can't go into Rhuidean. And they say places, so there must be other places that they can't go.
It seems like Moiraine I don't know, I feel like she was just on a journey for a trip of knowledge at this point when showing up there because she learned so many new things.
Well, she gets commanded to be there.
But the fact that they didn't know anything about Matt showing up.
They being the wise ones?
There's this big swath of this dream world that you just have no knowledge of. As these are the two, as you said,
the best
that
dream
are able
walkers
to use this power.
Right.
There's still a lot of information that can just throw them a left hook.
But
with people popping up.
I don't think that that's a product of them not being able to explore the entire dream world. What they learn through the dream world are probabilities. They don't learn certainties. So they didn't foresee Matt, like you mentioned. So that came out of the blue for them. They also mentioned they didn't foresee Egwene. Egwene and her abilities were new to them. But they did know that Rourke and Moiraine were going to show up there on Shindir that day.
Right.
Even though they were hundreds of miles away.
And if they didn't, woe be unto the world, basically.
They knew that if Rand did not come, he and the Aiel would die. They knew that if Moiraine didn't come, Rand would die. They knew if Lan didn't come, Moiraine would die. And they know that if Rand survives Rhuidean, some of the Aiel will survive. They don't know certainties,
know a lot more than they don't know.
Yeah. They know a lot more than anyone else.
Yeah, it's an amazing power. Have we learned who can actually tap into the one power yet? We learned that Avienda can channel.
Of course, Aviendha can channel, and of course, she's going to be one of the most powerful Aes Sedai.
Every 7th person you meet is going to be the most powerful of the age.
Poor Fail, by the way. Why isn't she an amazing channeler? She's like the one female character in this story that can't channel.
She's amazing.
I don't know.
Annoying.
We don't know
That's
much
her
about
skill.
her history, so who knows what that is.
Right. Maybe that's the secret, is that Moiraine knows that she also is going to be the most powerful Aes Sedai ever.
Oh, indeed. Now I'm saying indeed a lot.
So, so they're talking about the things that they know. And then Mullane says, "Oh, Moiraine, we know that if you go to Rhydian, we know if you go there, something will happen." And then she's like, "Oh,
cat's out of the bag."
What is that?
It's interesting that Bear says that those who know their fate often come to disaster because they wait for it to happen and miss the necessary action, or they try to change what can't be changed.
Does that sound like Rand in Prophecy?
Hasn't Rand been forcing Destiny's hand all this time?
It's an interesting comment on that.
Yeah. So she's really concerned. They accidentally reveal to Moiraine what they foresee, and they're concerned that they've somehow thrown a new thread into the web of time. And then they say, it's not really good to know or to be trying to make things happen. And that's what Rand has been doing. The first reason that he was doing it was because he kept trying to prove himself that they were wrong, that he wasn't the Dragon Reborn.
That didn't work well.
He ended up proving the opposite to himself. And the second reason has been this whole desire within himself now to do something unexpected, because he's trying to get in front of the Forsaken. He's tired of reacting to them, and he wants them to react to him. Much in the same way that Michael Jordan put all that weight on between 1990 and 1991, because he was tired of reacting to the Pistons and he wanted them to react to him. He wanted to deal out the beating.
Moiraine has been through this essentially before. They say in Rhydian, you'll find 3 rings. So it's another 3 ring step that she's going through.
Right, she's going to Ringling Brothers.
Yeah.
Maybe it will possibly be the same way, but she's already gone through 3 rings before, so it'll be interesting to see what these next 3 rings are.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now there are some differences, because they say that you will go through these rings and
but you'll see your future.
Right. They're all future focused. Whereas the 3 rings for the accepted testing are past, present, and future. But it does seem to be similar in that you're not going to remember everything that happens when you come out. And in fact, they say that most of that stuff will fade with time. And that's good because of that quotation that I mentioned. So, you don't want to constantly be trying to achieve that fate that you saw. And so they do constantly see their future.
It sounds like Terminator 2.
It's like
the
a lot
future,
of
which was once so certain.
Right. It's like a lot of movies where somebody
us.
comes back from the future. There's always that danger of, I can't tell you what's going to happen, but you need to kind of relive the events as they're supposed to unfold.
Yeah. So it's just going to be, they keep stepping through these doors.
It's a lot of doors.
There's a lot of uncertainty. Amis says life is uncertainty and struggle, choice and change. One who knew how his or her life was woven into the pattern might go mad trying to achieve it.
I think it's interesting that Moiraine, like Matt does in Rhydian, Moiraine has already been through, those 3 rings, but then she goes through the Arch to ask questions about the future.
Mm-hmm.
And now it seems like she's going through this to see more about the future and get it shown visually instead of answers. It's a lot of questions she's asking about the future.
She's learning. Yeah, you're right. I mean, she is learning a lot about the future, though. So is Rand. The only difference is Rand has not gone through the Aes Sedai testing, where Moiraine saw one possible future, but she had the accepted testing. I mean, she had to deny that future. So that's a future that will never happen. It wraps up with Egwene with the wise ones. That's where, Moiraine runs off naked and leaves her there. And she's begging them to get some training like Egwene is prone to do. And they make her swear that she will not enter Tel'aran'rhiod until she is told she can.
Yeah. I doubt that's going to happen.
That was my question.
She doesn't seem to listen very well.
No way.
Is that going to happen? And if it doesn't,
it's not going to end up
repercussions are not not going to be favorable.
Especially because they keep saying about how the White Tower coddles people.
Right.
Yeah, the White Tower is soft.
I have a feeling that Egwene is in for a rough time.
She's going to have to go.
It's really hot out there, so I can only imagine.
And not only that, they have no problem with like people being naked.
She is right. Weather. Yeah. She's going to get the will squeezed out of her as much as they possibly can.
As much as they can.
Yeah,
I don't know if they'll be successful.
I will say that will not happen.
Right. Yeah,
that's my prediction.
Yeah, it's a good prediction.
They're going to be like, oh, wait, we're really impressed with you.
Okay.
Super cool.
I think she will leave less willful than she came in.
Or at least more able to manage it.
She will leave through the door less willful than she came in.
Which door?
The red door.
Yeah, I don't think she wants.
So let's move on to I see a red door.
Yeah, Nynaeve could use some of that.
And let's talk about Matt's journey through the red door and Matt and Rand in Roydien. From the conversation between Matt and Rand, it seems that they both feel they have to enter this city. They have to enter this territory. But Rand didn't learn it from the snake people.
Yeah. Rand probably part of prophecy somewhere, or some book he read or something.
Rand did have a book in Tyr on the Aiel. Remember, he had a book on the history of the Aiel. So there must have been a whole other set of prophecies in there.
Do you think reading comprehension is one of the gifts of the dragon? Because he all of a sudden's reading a lot of books and they're just able to recall this stuff and be really good at sussing out what's what.
He has those books for a long time, so I don't think he has a photographic memory, but he is reading a lot of tomes and retaining a lot of information from a lot of really big texts. Okay. So they discover Avendesora, which we already talked about.
Erik was not very interested in my question. He doesn't think it's a superpower. I do.
Okay. Well, you can level Rand up because he can read at the end of this.
I will. I'll give him
that
a free
option.
Pizza. A free pan pizza.
So they're sitting around. They have that moment under the tree where they reminisce about the character in the stories by Jane Farstrider. And then Rand convinces Matt that he shouldn't come in with him. Matt was ready to go, even though he was not really excited about it. So he stays outside. He's looking around at all of the ter'angreal and...
Dun, dun, dun.
What do you know? There's another one of those weird doorways here.
I had such a great experience the last time. Let me do it again.
Yeah. But he's so darn curious that he does. So...
Does not end well.
So let's just talk some generalities here. So we know we have snake people and fox people. In your minds, just in general, what are some of the similarities between snakes and foxes?
I freaking hate the bad rap foxes get, but I suppose it makes sense with, farmers.
Neither are to be trusted.
Foxes attack their chickens and killing everything.
Neither are to be trusted.
They're devious, absolutely. Crazy like a fox,
they're also supposed to be, when you think of a fox and you think of a snake, you think they're cunning.
Sly.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I think these
and then I think about the fact that they're capturing little children and bringing them to an island. That's just the fox.
What?
Little wooden children. Right. Honest John. Honest John is the fox.
The fox, okay, with the hat.
Hi, diddly dee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An act is life for me.
That's what I think about with foxes.
Well, he's also a cunning,
I love foxes and
cunning dude.
Would love to have one.
So, what are the similarities between these fox people and these snake people?
They seem to withhold information and try to goad you, into basically making your own bed that you have to sleep.
Yeah, they're trying to screw you over.
Okay.
And they both have the similarities of, did you bring any iron? Did you bring any musical instruments? Did you bring any light generating devices, i.e. flashlights?
They haven't seen visitors in a long time. We know that from their comments in the dust.
They like sitting up on pedestals.
They both seem to be feeding off of people's experiences, breathing them in. The sailor.
Not the flavor.
The savor. The strain. The
The
strain.
strain.
I said the savor, not the
Get it?
flavor. Chuck
Well,
D. Okay, what are the
Right.
differences?
Well, the pieces of skin.
So the one group, the snakes
Dance
are
with
wearing
the dead in
hooded
my
robes.
grave.
The fox people are wearing these girdles, these thin leather strapped girdles.
I kind of think of it like Thor's little thing across his chest with the round.
Well, it's sort of like
things,
lederhosen.
Yeah. No, I don't.
I
I'm
see.
go there.
The
but-
human skin lederhosen. That's
The fox people are really pale and have those weird eyes and a weird tuft of hair up on top of their heads, and they're sort
like
of
little
triangular.
mohawks.
Their heads are triangular and their torsos are triangular.
They both appear out
the
of
fox
nowhere.
people definitely seem more menacing from the get go.
Yes,
They're just going to attack you because
and they both have very
yeah.
unusual patterns of speech.
I think the reason for that, though, is that Matt knows a lot more about what he's getting into when he goes into the snake door than when he goes into the fox door. So I
because he
think
thinks it's the same door.
I think they seem less menacing because he's more prepared for the interaction. It's clear when he goes into the fox people that he has no idea what he's gotten himself
Swamp
into.
fox, tail on his hat. Yeah, he's got no clue what's happening here.
So Matt gets in, he's led through all of these tunnels, and the fox
There's no minotaur in this labyrinth, though.
just the fox people, they are the minotaur.
Yeah.
They ask him what he wants
Right.
rather than asking him what he wants to know. It doesn't seem like anything's coming from it.
No, nothing comes of it. They don't answer his questions. Instead, what starts happening is, my take on this is he starts spouting off demands.
So he says, if I had my way, I would want those holes filled.
Done.
Well, I want a way to be free of Aes Sedai and the power.
Done.
I want to be away from you and back to Roydian.
Done.
Fool!
Yeah.
So it's like he's shouting out demands, and they're meeting his demands not in the way that he thinks they're going to be met, though.
And then we get this at the end. Wise to ask leave taking when you set no price, no terms. Price and terms. Matt didn't come prepared with any of those. Yet fool to not first agree on price. We will set the price. They spoke so quickly he couldn't tell which said what. What was asked will be given. The price will be paid. And then Matt's
Clunk.
And
So-
then he's not doing well.
and that's it. Boy, Matt goes through these two gates in a very short period of time. He doesn't have to wait long to have his curiosity satisfied. I think he's probably disappointed at this point that he did.
Well, he might be dead.
He could be out of the story entirely.
In this case, curiosity killed the mat.
Right. It did not kill the cat-like foxes.
No.
That was fantastic. There was prophecy that was told by the snake people that he must die and then be
Oh, they
born again.
Live again.
spout a whole bunch of stuff
Mhm.
there at the end. That seems
So-
really rather important.
So you think Matt's going to survive this strangulation he appears to be going through?
No, maybe he's going to die. That could be much farther down the road, but that was the prophecy that was
Yes,
told about
I
it.
hope there is a road that we find out.
I don't like those guys much in the same way that the Emmons Fielders don't like the Coplins. So who was your Coplin of the week, Adam?
Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, you thief.
Oh, yeah!
Thief, ya.
Yeah.
Coolidin,
Don't like
huh?
that guy.
Okay.
Seems like he's up to no good.
All right. Well,
He was attacking Matt.
he looks like
And
he's
you
going to
can
be an
talk-
ongoing problem.
You can talk crap about Matt all you want, but only if you're in the friend group.
Right.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he seems like this is trouble a brewing, and it might not only be him because he seems like he might have people behind him. So,
Yeah, maybe
So-
it's the
Like
man.
him.
We don't know.
So, Dave, you had Kool-Aid Man as well.
I did. I absolutely did. Yeah. He was my thorn in my side.
Strike 3, Kool-Aid Man. I had you
There
too.
you go.
oh,
Is this the
we
first
don't
time
like
we've
him.
all
No,
ever
we
agreed?
don't.
I don't think this is the first time, but it doesn't happen
It's a
often.
rarity.
This guy really stuck in my teeth like a raspberry seed.
He got your goat. He stuck in your craw.
Yes, I was.
I could have kept going.
I am not cool with Kool-Aid Man.
This is a rarity.
He's obviously going to be a problem moving forward. And who would have thought? I mean, from the stoic Aiel, there's this hothead.
A big baby.
Yeah.
Avienda's a little bit of a
Glenn
hothead.
Davis. Avienda
Yeah, but
is...
she's not wanting attention. This guy seems like he wants attention.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who leveled up?
Dave, you can go first since I stole yours.
Well, I was going to tell. He's going to tell.
He's going to tell.
And it's collective, the wise ones.
Soul?
No, the wise ones, because they have this crazy dream-walking power where they predicted that they knew that if these two didn't show up, they were doomed.
Okay.
And they got it right. I mean, they got it right.
Well,
they showed up from afar, and so many things had to happen in order for that to happen. Rand had to actually be able to channel correctly with the fat little stone man Angreal to get them all there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just amazing. That's an amazing power.
Don't forget they commanded an Aes Sedai.
And they put Couladin in his place.
Couple of them smacked Couladin back with a blast of the power.
And they accepted change really quickly.
They earn their name here. They demonstrate an incredible amount of understanding and foresight for sure.
Yeah.
If it's not for them, that chapter ends very, very differently.
Yes.
It ends.
Matt gets impaled.
It ends in war. Well, at least a battle.
I'm surprised Rand didn't do anything there.
It's a good thing he didn't. He's the new guy, and like you said, he's trying to earn these people's trust as opposed to command it, because you can't do that with them. They're like
he would have been
stallions.
stepping on toes.
Yeah. Okay, so oddly enough, I thought you were going to choose Rand. I did. I chose Rand here. And it's because we now know that Rand scored a 1200 on reading comprehension on the SAT.
There we go with the reading comprehension skills.
And also he, like we were just talking about, he does demonstrate discipline. He understands these Aiel. You know, he bows to the wise ones. He has an antiquated but proper request to enter Rydien. They recognize that he is Aiel, even if Kool-Aid Man can't.
He also traveled them all there.
Thank you. Yeah.
Not only that,
Small.
he did that, and then he also talked down everyone in Tyr.
Right, he takes control of
that
Tyr.
so
He pseudo-liberates the Tyr serfdom.
he sees through their plots and their plans, but that's a hell of a Tom.
He's
Maryland.
bringing food to Cairhien. He draws water from under Rydien and saves himself and Matt from dying of thirst.
He's got some.
And
puta.
Matt thinks he's going crazy.
So you leveled up for me, Rand. Good job.
Yeah, that's a solid Rand week.
Mhm.
Yep, I agree.
Who was my level up as well.
Well, that wraps up another exciting episode. Join us for episode 31 when we cover chapters 25 through 30. Until then, may you rest in the Creator's hand.
May you always find water and shade.
Because you can't, and you won't, and you don't stop.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Ed Rock could be rocking the sure shot.